Hey, Jeff. It's Monday morning and Monday afternoon. It's Monday, and we are recording the show for Tuesday. You're at home. I'm at home. I was in San Diego this weekend. I got a text message from you. Are you watching the World Juniors right now? And I said, no, I'm doing shows. And you said, it's amazing. So tell us all about it.
Well, I think that
I'm
to
right.
have a hockey tournament in the summer is probably not the best idea, but of course, COVID, the Rona, took them down at Christmas, so they couldn't have the World Junior ice hockey tournament. The men's this week and the women's next week, but it was unbelievable.
This is a better time. This is a better time of year. Very, very few people are getting the Rona right now, and you got to be kind of.
Yeah, you know what? It's a good time of year to do it because that's right. The Rona is not as plentiful as it will be or has been. But
you got to be a wall liquor to get that.
Yeah, you gotta be eating out of a dumpster right now to get the Rona, don't you think? But anyways, or licking doorknobs. But yeah. I don't know what we got going there.
I got to be honest with you. I think the summertime's a better time than Christmas. I know it's harder to sell tickets because they're doing it in Canada, but I think for the guys playing it and the guys and gals playing in it, it kind of gives them a break. You know what I mean? Like they get to finish their season, and then midsummer they're back in shape going into the season rather than taking them out halfway through the season.
Well, if you have a bunch of these kids that are going to stay, they're on your college team or your junior team, and you've got 3 or 4 kids going. They don't have to be from one country; they can be from different countries.
Right.
And your season goes on. Well, they're gone for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That could really hurt you, right?
Right.
One of the things I was thinking about for these kids is they just finished on the 20th, I think, or the 21st of August. They're so they built up, and then training camp for them, they'll all go to rookie camp. Majority of them will start this week or next week, probably next week. That'll take them into the NHL camp.
Right.
So these guys are going to, just from a strictly selfish training perspective, these guys are going to be in really good shape. They're going to be skating with some of the best kids of their age group in the world, right?
Yeah, I think it's a great time of year for it.
It's, some people might say, well, the season goes too long then, but they're young, and the opportunity to play for your country is huge. I will say this, watching the World Juniors, and maybe it was the summertime, I don't know the difference, but the level of hockey as the tournament went on, it took some time because obviously there's a downfall. They're not coming out of their season. They're all playing their way into the hockey in the summer. But I thought the level of hockey and the pace of play was really, really good and really high. A lot of times when you watch junior hockey, it kind of turns into a 1v1 a lot of times. I have the puck and I'm going to go and I'm going to skate and twirl it around and take it around you. I saw a lot more what I would call very intelligent hockey. Not that these kids aren't very good and intelligent players normally, but very intelligent hockey and very fast and creative hockey out of them. And the Finland-Canada game, which was the finals, was phenomenal. And then Sweden won the bronze, and their game was terrific too. So, I don't know. I think you might be onto something there. Why not have it in the summer?
For a couple of years.
Who knows? Logistically, the TV might not want it then. The countries might not want it then. But I think instead of pulling your kids out mid-season like they do to play, there's give and
take on both sides, and I think you got it. I don't know. I think the summer outweighs, and I have a feeling a lot of people after COVID weren't going to the games because they just haven't had a summer like this in a couple of years. So why would you go back into the building, kind of thing?
Well, you have the summer, you have it to yourself. If you think, because really the only thing, you got the golf.
I'm saying the fans though. The fans like not going into the buildings because they were saying it was pretty empty in the buildings. I'm like, yeah, people haven't been able to go vacation like they have this year.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? So if
You,
it grows as it goes. So
well, but remember too, I mean, without us going crazy on this,
too late.
You aren't fighting anybody for, like this time of year. Okay, you got the golf, baseball, NFL is still training camp preseason. NHL's not going. The NBA's not going. There doesn't seem to be a whole bunch going on.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas around Christmas time, because this tournament usually starts on the 26th of December, there's a ton of stuff going on trying to get you to tune in or pay to go watch it. So the only question I have is summertime, because it's going to go to Halifax at Christmas this year, but then it's got to go over to Europe too and down to the States. So maybe it just doesn't work for everybody. But I like your idea of going to the summer. Just a matter of whether the logistics would allow it, and if they get the same kind of push that they do over the holiday season.
Our guest today actually is coached in the World Junior Championships. Who knows? Maybe he'll bring it up. We'll ask him about it. Tim Hunter, drafted by the Atlanta Flames, played for the Calgary Flames, played for the Vancouver Canucks, played for San Jose, coached in Toronto as an assistant coach, coached with the Washington Capitals as an assistant coach. Also, just recently left a head coaching job in juniors where he was with Moose Jaw. And it is Tim Hunter is on the show today. So we're going to bring Tim in a second. And, did you ever play against him?
Yes, I did play against him. And
where'd you play against him?
Well, he was in Calgary. I would have played against him when I was in Detroit. So yeah, he was.
We're going to ask him about the arm thing.
Yeah, you know what? That's right. We've been talking about that for I don't even know how long we've been on for. It seems like forever. But
years.
One thing about him is, we've been on forever. We got to ask him about the arm thing. And I do remember there's some guys you always know are on the ice. And he was one of those guys that you always knew when he was on the ice.
Like a shark.
And he, I don't know if I'll get a chance to ask him this, but he played defense and forward. That's he played
Funny.
Wing, and he broke in. He was a defenseman originally. So try and remember to ask him that. But this guy is one of the most respected guys. Never really, other than to play against him, never knew him. But guys that have played with him and know him, and just in hockey circles, just so highly respected. So,
I met him at the Vancouver Canuck alumni thing I did last year for the luncheon for the 1981 team. Was that when they went to the finals? Was that 1980?
I think that was 80.
1980? Whatever.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay, I was just at it. Well, I was just saying. So I met him there, and he still scared me. I thought he was going to be. When I met him, I was just like, oh, he's a little intense. So, but it's just, he's got that look that he's intense, but really nice guy. So yeah, I was so happy when he said yes, did he come on. What else I want to bring up? Not much else going on in the league right now.
No.
Cadre, I guess that's
Cadre,
that's
huge,
nothing else.
Huge summer for Calgary. You know what? I mean, good for them. I think obviously a little bit longer deal than maybe they would like, but if this guy gives them another 4 to 5 years of similar production of what he's doing now, I don't even think they really need the offensive production out of him. But if you think about how Calgary's lined up, and someone was arguing with me about this the other day, so if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I thought Huberdeau played a little bit of center, but I was told it was Barkov. But Huberdeau gives them a huge threat and an underrated player. How that, what did he have? 105 points. I don't know how he's underrated. But if you look at how Calgary lines up now against Edmonton, particularly, and their superstars, if you just want to go with Lindholm as your number 1 center, Kadri as your number 2 center, and Backlund as your number 3 center, you plug a lot of holes in that lineup. And then you add Uyghur on defense. So Goodbranson comes out. You add Uyghur in. You've actually, and with Huberdeau, you've actually now given yourself, I think you've added quickness to your team. And I think you've probably added a little bit more defensive structure than you maybe had last year when Edmonton came in and scored at will on you. So it's very interesting. Kadri can play against anybody, but he'll probably go in as the 2C, the number 2 center, and be interesting to see. So without further ado, though, Lord Bag,
let's go to Tim Hunter. The interview brought to you by Super Deeker. A training system that helps you learn how to stick handle, so you're absolutely fantastic. I've tried it. I suck. Jeff has one. He put it up on the shelf because he sucks at it. But if you're a kid, you can be fantastic at it. Superdeeker.com. Use the code SLICES and find yourself with a little bit of a discount. Now let's go to the interview. Today's guest was drafted by the Atlanta Flames, and he said, I will not play in any other town other than the town I was born in. So they moved the team to Calgary, Alberta, where he played for the Calgary Flames and won a Stanley Cup. Please welcome Tim Hunter. Hello, Tim.
Howdy.
How are you today?
Well, that's a friendly Western welcome from Calgary. Yeah, I'm great.
I know. It was awesome. I didn't know if a fight was starting. That's what I
yeah. No, that was always these guys wanted to ask me, do you want to go? I'm going, go where? Like, really?
Hey, Tim, you started, you've been in a lot of different areas. You were coaching in the NHL. You played in the NHL. You've coached major, junior, and kind of start with your playing days. When you were drafted, and just kind of talk us through the cities you played in the league, some people that maybe had a big influence on your career, and kind of mentors as a player, and maybe a mentor as you moved into coaching.
Well, being drafted by the Atlanta Flames and then eventually the team moving to Calgary, and my first year pro playing in Birmingham, Alabama for the famous John Brophy. I probably have more stories of my first year in the Central Hockey League than I do of the next 17 years pro hockey. John Brophy was a real character, and every day there was a surprise every day. And after a while, I just stopped being surprised because it was just comical at times. But the thing that John Brophy always brought was his passion, and he was trying to make us better. And like, I played with a couple of guys, one guy from up where you guys are from Prince Rupert, his name's Ralph Andreessen, another guy from Lethbridge, Jay Soloway. And they couldn't handle John's coaching, and they quit, and they never played again. Jay played in the CIS and has done very well for himself. And Ralph never really played again, but they couldn't handle John's coaching. I call my dad and tell my dad, and he'd say to me, listen, this guy's not going to coach you for the rest of your life. You take the good with the bad. There's a message in everything he's saying. So at times it was hard, but he said to me one time, I made a mistake on the ice, and he said, hey, Hunter, you're no effing Mona Lisa. And I was 20 years old. My defense partner, Gord Wapple, I turned to I said, hey, Waps, who's Mona Lisa? No idea. I'm like, he goes, Hunts, just keep it simple. It's not a piece of art. Just pass the puck, make the simple first pass. That's what he means. So years later, I was in the Louvre and I took a picture with the Mona Lisa. I sent it to Gord Wapple. I said, hey, Waps, I finally found the Mona Lisa. So, and that's, what it was all about. And our team folded, and I was drafted. I was picked up first in the minor league dispersal draft by the Montreal Canadiens farm team. I went to Halifax, and Gord was second. And how Montreal got the first 2 picks, it was just amazing how they finangled all these things all these years. So, but John Brophy said in the paper, he said 4 months ago, there wasn't a team in hockey would have taken Timmy Hunter, but through his own hard work, dedication, discipline, and drive, he's the first guy taken in the draft. And that was really through John Brophy's coaching and pushing and teaching me how to be a man in a hurry. And if it wasn't for him, I probably would have never gone on to have a complete career. And then, my second year, I played for just about the same kind of character, but he was not the Neanderthal that John was. He was more modern and kinder, gentler guy. It was Tommy McVie. And Tommy McVie, I don't know if, Jeff, you ever played for Tommy or was around Tom McVie, but
yep.
What an incredible guy, the Foghorn. And he was so good for me again. And then, as you go along through your career, I always, Paul Baxter was my roommate when I played in Calgary, and he said, Hunts, he said, through life, you get a lot of different experiences from a lot of different people. So he says, you take a flower from everybody and you build your own bouquet. And so that's what I did. John Brophy, Tom McPhee, Al McNeil, Bob Johnson, Terry Christ, Pat Quinn, and then I became a coach. And I took all the good things that those guys tried to teach and tried to implement in their game and in their daily coaching regimes into my coaching. Actually, one of the best advices I ever got to be a coach was Bob Murdoch late in his career. And he was going to get into coaching. He said, Hunts, if you ever get into coaching, number one thing you want to remember is you always separate the player from the person. Just because he makes a bad play on the ice or makes a mistake that costs the team, he's not a bad guy. So just remember that when you go to work the next morning and some guy's giving the game away the night before, he's not a bad guy when you're having coffee with him in the morning. So, and that really resonated with me. It's so true.
Maybe
especially
the fans should hear that every once in a while as well.
Yeah, the fans. Yeah. Oh, you're right. That's true. It's fans and sometimes parents, they should, it's just a game, and it's like any game, and it's like life. If you don't make mistakes, you're not trying. If you haven't made any mistakes, you haven't tried. Right. And that's where you learn, and that's where you get your experience. Right. So lots of great people along the way as far as coaches. And I go back to that conversation, Gord Wapple. He was a great guy. Wapsy was always overweight. He was always riding the bike in the sauna before the weigh-in with a plastic bag over, a garbage bag over him, so he could get a little extra sweat on. He says, Hunts, you're going to make it one day. Just don't do the things I do. So, just funny stuff. But Gord was great. And right from that, my little advice in Hunts, just make the first available pass. When you're a defenseman, the first pass, the easy pass is always the best pass, right? Jeff, you're a defenseman. Yep. That. Just make that first pass, because the longer you hold on to it, the less there is, and the better chance you're going to get the puck taken away. And then through life, was great to play in Calgary for a lot of great guys that really were leaders. Lanny McDonald, Doug Risebrough, John Tonelli, guys like that helped me get through the game. And playing for Bob Johnson, I never knew the tough side of the hockey and the violent side of the hockey. It's sometimes you would go into Philadelphia and Bob would rest me, and Lanny and Reiser are in there. No, Bob, this is where you play Tim Hunter. You don't rest Tim Hunter in Philadelphia. You can rest him in Pittsburgh or someplace like that where it's kind of a gentler place, not in Philadelphia. You play Tim in Philadelphia. So guys like that always had my back, and we're still friends today. Like living in Calgary, I moved back to Calgary. I haven't lived here in 30 years. There's 9 guys from our Stanley Cup team in '89 that live here in Calgary. So pretty good camaraderie and a pretty good alumni we have here.
That's would you say that that team Calgary, had you not grown up there, would you still end up moving back there just because of the experiences you had playing there?
Yeah, I think so. Just the community. Lots of friends here. I still have tons of friends from grade 1, kindergarten. Right. I have a group of 6 to 8 people. Most of them are girls that I grew up with and we're friends with, and it's been great. Calgary, we have a lot of ex-NHLers living here in town. We have 109 guys on our alumni list, and guys that Steve Kelly played in Ottawa, but he didn't play here in Calgary. He's a city police officer. Guys like Archie Henderson never played for the Flames, but he's a Flames alumni. Guys like that we welcome in because we do so much in the community. The Flames organization does so much in the community as well, and they ask of us to do all these things. And sometimes there's not enough bodies to go around, so it's great to have other guys. And it's fun to be around all these other guys that have been all these other places and played and had all these experiences. You played against them, and now you're brothers in the alumni, and And that's the one thing about it is, guys enjoy playing in Calgary. We've had a tremendous summer. And I tell all my friends, I didn't move back here for the winter because I have a place in Phoenix. I'm in Phoenix the end of October, and I'll be back here May 1st. That's it.
That's fine. Do you think people need to know that because of what happened this summer with Johnny Gaudreau leaving, that Calgary is a destination that people enjoy living in after their career? Like people, they really make it sound like, oh, I'm in Calgary, I gotta get out of here. Whereas
Calgary is I think one of the top 3 livable cities in the world, number 1 in North America. All kinds of great things about Calgary. We have one of the largest urban parks in Canada here in Calgary. So you want to be outside, you want to be active. Calgary's got more bike paths, more river, more water frontage, more lakes and what have you than most major cities, unless you're on the water in Ontario. So yeah, it's disappointing, but these guys have a right to make those decisions. And a big part of his decision was family. Tkachuk, a big part of his was money. Mathematics of where he's going to play and where he's going to finish his career, and money. And then, what a great thing Brad Treleving does here with gathering in a couple guys, Huberdeau, that wants to play here, that's excited that they have a good foundation here to take a run at winning a championship. Weegar, Kadri. I coached Nas in Toronto when he was just a youngster. What a great kid he is. He's got a great family. He really is a competitor. So same with Huberdeau and Weegar. So I talked to a friend of Weegar's the other night, Dryden Hunt, who plays for the Rangers. I coached him in Moose Jaw. He says Weegs is very, very excited about being here with this team. And I watched a lot of games last year, and Daryl Sutter did a tremendous job with coaching this team and teaching them how to play the right way. And that's the benefactors of that were Tkachuk and Gaudreau with the years they had. And, on the end of the line, it's the team and the team success. But, if guys don't want to be here, there's lots of guys that do, right, because Calgary's a great city.
No point in crying over spilled milk.
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a second. As a guy that played a long time, you've been on the other side, you've been on the bench in the show, you played a long time. Just maybe speak to a minute or for a second about how much you've seen the game change. I mean, you're right. Gaudreau got himself to the point where he was an unrestricted free agent, but Tkachuk had a year left. Could you imagine back in the day having that amount of power to be able to kind of tilt it how you wanted it to work? I just could never imagine. In my mind, it's just changed so much. It's incredible how much power the player has now.
Well, and back in the day when I started, and you're not far from when I started, you're 6 or 7 years younger than me, but we didn't have any power and we didn't have salary disclosure, and it sure helped. And it sure has brought the value for the players up and the value for the piece of pie that the players get from the owners. There's not a lot of loyalty either direction now. There was years ago. You don't see many guys playing in one place a long time. I played here 11 years. You just don't see that. Players playing their whole career in one place like Stevie Yzerman did in Detroit. That doesn't happen anymore because of 2 factors. The loyalty on the salary cap side. So you're making too much. We have to fit some players in that are going to take your cap space, or you want to get your payday and move somewhere else. So I think it's at times it gets kind of a little bit over business-like, and the fans are the ones that end up hurting because they buy into having Johnny Gaudreau as a Flame. They got his jersey and they're just love this guy. And next thing he's gone for whatever reason. And that's the heartache for the fans. And, years ago you had a core group of guys, and it used to be 8-9 guys, and then it was shrunk down to 4 or 5. And now it's even smaller. The core is usually the youngest group of players on a team because they're going to be there the longest. until they're overpaid and the team can't afford them to fit in their salary cap structure. And I guess that's just the way of doing modern business. Sometimes it's a little dissatisfying, but I'm glad the players have more say. We used to, they used to put a contract in front of you and say, this is, kind of take it or leave it. And, and that's really the old way. And I'm glad it's the players have more say.
Did you have a plan B as a kid? Were you always just focused on make it to the NHL, or was there something else that you were, well, I want to be this. NHL sounds nice, but I want to be this.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. When I was drafted, there was only 21 teams, so it was very hard to make it. And for me, I was lucky because I played my first year junior in Seattle. I had 300 penalty minutes, had decent numbers. I played a lot.
Tripping.
Yeah, 150 tripping penalties.
And some holding.
A few slashes. Go to the box and feel shame. But I really was confident. I felt confident. I kind of did what I wanted to do. I wasn't afraid of anybody, and they had some tough guys in Newest Minister, and I used to pound on those guys. And I used to go by the bench and say, Ernie McLean, is that the toughest you got? Is that it? Like, really? He would just pull his hair out. He would just livid that this kid would skate by his bench and ask if he had anybody tougher. But that was my mentality. So I get drafted in that 79 draft, and I never expected to be drafted. I'm drafted. So now I'm going, holy mackerel, this is, and you really get pulled in. You get, okay, this is serious. And so I really did everything I possibly could to play. But I said to my family that if I didn't make it or play games in the NHL within 2 years, I'm not going to play in the minors that much longer. I'm going to try to get into doing something else. And not unlike Jeff, I was very interested in aviation. I have a pilot's license now, but I didn't get it back then. But something I was going to go back to school. I played in Kamloops as a 17-year-old because I was thinking of getting a scholarship. So I kind of waited on that playing junior. Mm-hmm. And then I decided I'm going to play junior and I want to see what it's all about and give it my best shot to play in the NHL. But, I didn't see being a long-time minor league player in my books.
So it all worked out. You end up being a long-term NHL player. What was your favorite team to play for other than Calgary? Because we know it's got to be something playing for your hometown. It's got to be like
nothing better than playing for your hometown. But the second best thing was playing in Vancouver.
Yeah,
Pat Quinn was such a great guy. He was like a father figure to everybody. He was such a great guy. Just taught us so well. He handed us the team. Trevor Linden, myself, Dana Merzen, Mirki Lumi, Dave Babich, and you guys run the team. You guys make sure Pavel and Gino and all those guys are doing the right things, and just let you guide the ship along, and I'll show you guys a template how we're going to play, and bust your chops down again. But Pat was great. Pat was a real man. He treated us like men. Always positive guy. He was very intimidating. He had a presence about him, but just a wonderful coach. And playing in Vancouver, the Griffiths family, they were unbelievable. So I'll tell you a little story. So I get picked up by Vancouver on waivers. We're on the road in LA, and we're coming back to Vancouver, and the Griffiths family are having us to their place in West Vancouver, that this beautiful home on a little island just right in West Van, just before Horseshoe Bay there. Just unbelievable. So I'm the first to arrive. I get a cab over there, and I'm the first to arrive, and I'm wondering if I've got the right place, but got the address. Big door. I go up to the front door and ring the doorbell, and this little man comes to the door, and I recognize him. It's Frank Griffith, and I'm going, hi, Tim Hunter. Oh, Tim, we're so happy to have you here with the team. And then around the corner comes this little lady, Emily. She looks at me and she's shaking her finger at me. She's like, Tim Hunter, I used to hate your guts. And she comes up to me, gives me a big hug. Now I love you. I'm glad you're on our team. I'm like, holy mackerel. Intimidated so many guys in my life as a hockey player, and I was intimidated by a 70-plus-year-old little old lady that I thought she was going to tear a strip off me. But it was unbelievable. They were just like the Siemens and Harley Hotchkiss in Calgary. They treat us like family. And Arthur took on the team after for a while, and same thing, pure family. And that's really nice when you really feel wanted, you feel part of a group, you feel part of a family, and all those little things add up, and they make you kind of perform a little bit more and give a little bit more.
Do you think that has anything to do with guys leaving, like Gaudreau? Like, does that make it, when you have families owning the team, does that make it tougher for those guys to leave? Would there have been maybe more of a chance for him staying in Calgary if it's still
no? Murray Edwards, their ownership in Calgary, they're around, and they are Brad Treliving and John Bean. They are fantastic with the way they treat the players here. They treat the players, their families, their wives, their kids like gold here. It's unbelievable. It's not much. They've always had that here in Calgary as treated the players as family. And that's always been the nice thing. You always hear good things about from the players. I do a little bit of Flame TV during the season, and I'm down on the ice level, and the players truly love being here. And the guys just get a chance to move a little closer to family and to have a little easier life and a little bit more comfortable. I guess that's hard not to take. You're a long way from home, and he was drafted by the Flames and coming out of the East, and he solidified his career here, and now he gets to make the opportunity to play somewhere else. I think there's teams in the league that have a hard time attracting players for a lot of different reasons. Quebec, the taxes, and what have you. It's if you're talking playing in Montreal or playing in Florida, there's a big swing in the amount of money you put in your jeans at the end of the day when you're talking exchange taxes in Quebec and no state taxes in Florida. So,
right.
Where would you want to play, right?
Yeah, and I'm surprised they just don't move the team down to Florida anyways, because everybody's a snowbird up there. So you could just play in front of the Montreal people, just put a second Montreal form up in Florida. You could. Most of the people from Quebec go to the East Coast, and most of the people from Ontario go to the West Coast. So Tampa more Ontario people, and Florida Panthers more Quebec people. Yeah, whenever I've been cut off by a car that has Quebec plates in Florida, I know exactly where I am. I'm in Miami. I just found, and it is approximately January.
Yeah.
Hey, Hans. So the people that know the game know you are as rugged, tough customers they come. The people that the 4 or 5 people that watch us somewhere else in the world might not know that much about you, but so. You were you didn't shy away from the physical side of the game. And of course, that brings with it some extracurricular activities once in a while. So there wasn't anybody that you wouldn't take on. There's no question about that. Was there some that gave you more concern than others when you did take them on? Being a guy that takes care of everybody else on the team is the most popular guys on the team. You were that guy for every team you played for, or one of them. Is there any guys that you look back that you go, well, that guy, that was a handful, or a game before the game started, you knew that there was someone that gave you a little bit more trouble than others?
Well, the number one thing is you never take anybody lightly, because all it takes sometimes is just one punch. It could be a lucky punch. So I when I knew I was going to take on this role, I did everything possible to train to be the best possible enforcer, tough guy, whatever you want to call it. I boxed with Willie DeWitt. I took boxing lessons. I watched video. I trained like a madman. I was the fittest guy in every team I played for in the NHL. And so I always thought that conditioning would give me an edge. So I was never afraid of anyone, but I was always on guard, because I never wanted to get knocked out. You aren't going to see a video where I'm laying on the ice looking for the fish underneath the ice there after a fight. I got my ass handed to me a few times, but not where I was knocked out or beaten up real bad. I might have taken a few shots, but there definitely was some guys that always gave you concern. Dave Brown, Bob Probert, and Nick Fotiu. Those guys were big, heavy punchers. The first guy I fought in the NHL, Glenn Cochran. He had me by
There's British Columbia.
Yeah, 3 or 4 inches. Dave Semenko. Dave didn't have a lot of fights in the NHL, but he had like 60 and I had a couple hundred, and nobody wanted to fight Dave. Everyone thought they kicked my ass, but Dave was really dirty. Dave would kick you, he would knee you, he would sucker punch you, whatever it took to send a message that you don't mess around with Wayne Gretzky. You were getting it unless you complied. And so I learned that in a hurry. There was no code with Dave Semenko. Dave, if Dave was going to send you a message, it was going to get sent. My first fight, you could watch on YouTube with Dave Semenko. It's a great fight, and I did really well. Yet at the end, I'm a little cocky, and I poked my head over the top of the linesman, and the linesman doesn't have Dave's arms, and he punched me right in the middle of the forehead. I'm like, oh, okay, sure, there's the code. Yeah, we're done fighting, So anyways, kicked me, kneed me, lots of different things. So Dave was always a handful, but you just have to be ready for it. And the number one question I always get asked is, who was the toughest guy you ever fought? And I didn't really know it at the time, but I fought Nick Fotiu in New York and Madison Square Garden, my first time in there in the early 80s. I beat up Don Maloney, and I thought, okay, Nick Fotiu's coming over the boards. I'm going to die right here in Manhattan. I'm not going to be on the charter after the game. And nothing. Third period, nothing. We scored to make it 4 or 5-2, 40 some seconds left of the game, under a minute. Bob Johnson sends me out, and Herb Brooks is the coach of the Rangers. He sends Nick out. I'm going, oh boy, here he comes, Nick Fotiu. Okay, I'm going to die. So Nick is lined up against me in the faceoff, and he spears me right inside my thigh, just near my groin. Very tender area, right in there with the point of his stick. And I'm like, okay, just go down. You're hurt. They'll take you off the ice. You won't have to fight Nick. Just end it here. This will be good. But no, of course I didn't do that. So I got up, and Nick gives me this, drops his gloves. He doesn't have a helmet on. He just drops his gloves and gives me this one. So I'm going, okay. I was young and dumb. I'm going to just get this over with quickly. So I lean in, start in at Nick, and he just reaches out, he grabs me, pulls me, and he's punching at the same time. And I am flying through the air as this guy with these massive forearms, these massive hands, is pulling me and punching me at the same time. I'm going, oh dear. So I duck my head, he hit me on top of the helmet, and I still haven't found the helmet. I was like, OMG. And then we wrestled to the ground. There wasn't much of a fight. I thought, oh, thank God, I can go home. So years later, Nick is playing for the Flames now, in 86 or 87. And we're playing in Vancouver, and we're playing the Canucks. And there's a guy there named Craig Cox. And Coxie is this big, huge guy. He's really tall, taller than Nick and I. And he's from California. He's this surfer dude, we call him. And we call him Scooby-Doo because he's like, hey, Hunts, you want to go? And I'm like, sure, dude. Let's go. So we're standing there, and he's asking me if I want to fight. So I'm getting ready, and I drop the gloves. And Nick comes in. He puts his hand on my shoulder, pulls me out. Hunts, I'll take care of this. And I'm like, because Nick hadn't fought yet for us, and he wanted to show us he could fight. So he stands in there. And I'm like, oh boy. So he stands in there with Coxie. Boom. He throws a right, hits Coxie right in the cheek. And it was like taking a sledgehammer and hitting the side of beef with it full swing right in the cheek, and his face caved in. And I went, that could have been me 5 years ago in Manhattan if I hadn't ducked. That's the toughest guy I've ever fought right there. Right then and there, I knew it. It was Nick Fatiu. I went, OMG. And the funny thing was, not funny, but Coxie just kind of shook it off and he goes, whoa, dude, that's a punch. He had broken his orbital bone. It was crushed. His face is caved in, and he still fought Nick Fatiu. I was like, oh, wow, this is something else. So it was, like Nick had that power because he was a Golden Glove boxer. He had these big forearms. And he could, from his knees, he could go down on his knees on the goal line, choke down on his stick, and he could shoot the puck over the other glass at the other end of the rink, wrist shot. He had such power in his wrist. He was amazing. So yeah, when he got a hold of you, he got a hold of you. You weren't getting out. He wasn't letting go of you.
Maybe you can put an end to this rumor for us, because we used to hear a rumor about you that you used to grab onto guys both hands with one hand and then beat them up.
Like try and bring their arms together and then grab them with your one hand and beat them with the other.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
See, that was a plausible rumor. It's true. Yeah. We've talked about you before doing that on the show. So
you see, what you learn is you have to, some of these guys are bigger, taller, longer arms. So you shorten their reach up. Instead of grabbing them on the shoulder up here, you grab them at the elbow and then you twist. And now they don't have as much leverage to punch. So you got them in the elbow. So I would get in and then I just grab. And sometimes I get them both and I just pull them in and I would just go, wow, grab them both. Now I could go left or right. I did that to a kid in LA. His name was Matt Johnson. He was 6'5", 235. And this kid was a beast. And, Gretzky and that era and Jay Miller. And, I never really had any problem with most of those guys, Jay Miller and Jay Wells. And Marty was there. I didn't really have a problem with Marty either. But this kid was massive. I'm like, holy. He kept begging me, come on, we got to go. I got to fight you. Coach wants me to fight you. I'm going, have a couple shifts in the league first. And come back and see me in a couple of years, and go away. So finally, I dropped the gloves with him. And I did that to this kid. I grabbed him, locked them both together, and I hit him about 5 times with the right. The linesman jumped in, and he's looking at me like dumbfounded. And I said, 6'5", 235. I said, where was it? And I skated away. So, you just little tricks you learn. I learned another trick, and I did it to Rob Ray one time. It's called the Pretzel. And it's another move where you reach around, his arm gets underneath your arm, you squeeze it under your arm, you grab his other arm, then you start hitting him with your free hand. And it's like almost like a Chinese handcuff where you squeeze and you can't pull your hand out, your arm out. And I did that to Rob Ray, and Rob was like, he went to the penalty box and he had no idea what just happened to him. He was like kicking his helmet and banging the door. He's like, what did this guy just do to me? So I had all these little things I did, and all of it was just, I fought to not really get the shit kicked out of me. I fought to make sure I sent a message and I didn't get hurt, because I wasn't trying to trade punches with other guys. Like, I tried to teach Stu Grimson, Stu, you can't fight Dave Brown and trade rights with lefts. He doesn't miss. He's going to hurt you. And he broke Stu's orbital bone. Jim Kite, same thing. I said, Jim, don't trade rights with lefts. You do it with me. I said, but I don't punch like Dave Brown. Dave Brown, he does not miss. He broke Jim Kite's orbital bone with a left, and Jim was trying to hit him with rights. Right. So, like any guy could, if you expose yourself, you could be in trouble. And that was my modus operandi.
That's the biggest thing, right? Is exposing yourself in a fight. And that's
you got to turn your head so it's a long oval and not a big target. And I used to put instant courage on my eyebrows and around my cheek and a little on my nose. And I'd be in the bathroom, and young guys would go, do you want some of this instant courage? And they're like, what are you talking about? I said, it's instant courage. You put Vaseline on your eyebrows, your nose, and your cheeks, you get in a fight, the punches glance off, so it makes you tougher. And they would,
So funny.
I'd
And the
have a
coach,
little laugh.
and the coach thinks you're working harder because you're already glistening.
Yeah, that's right. You're sweating. You haven't had that shift yet.
Hunts, moving on, just because you're talking about it leads us to the Battle of Alberta. And the reason I ask is because you were front and center in a lot of those games, they were crazy games. I see when they signed Gaudreau, the first question isn't, hey, welcome to the city, what do you think? It's like, are you ready for the Battle of Alberta? And the Battle of Alberta, it got going a couple times last year, but I believe they're only going to play each other 4 times this year, versus back in the day when you were in Calgary, it'd be 6, 8 times plus playoffs. Back when it was fewer teams. Talk a little bit about those games and the change, if any, you've seen over the course of time in the Edmonton-Calgary rivalry.
Well, yeah, just attrition. Yeah, we play them less, and the big thing is there was one referee back in those days, so you could get away with a lot more behind the scenes. And there was things that were getting done because the referee was turned watching somebody else, and you're committing a murder over here, and he didn't see it, and the linesmen weren't collaborating. So, and there wasn't as many cameras, so it was the Wild West at times, and it was fun. But it was hatred, and the fans kind of bred that into the players because they wanted to win so bad. So everywhere you went in town, people are talking about beating Edmonton and got to win the game, and it's a big game, and the Battle of Alberta, and you're like, holy mackerel, yeah, okay, all right. So, but we in those days, we didn't have salary disclosure, we didn't have the Players Association as tight and connected as it is now. The players didn't mingle after games or at the center ice. If you got caught talking to a player during the game at center ice and warm up, the coach would like, really? That's unprofessional. You get berated for just doing something like that. Now it's like a love fest at center ice before a game. Hey, how you doing? Where are you going after the game? I'm going to go for dinner and see the wife and kid, which is fine. And they turn it off and turn it on, which all athletes can, but perception, becomes reality. And so a lot of hatred. I didn't hate Wayne Gretzky or Mark Messier or Glenn Anderson, but I really hated Dave Lumney, Dave Hunter, Pat Hughes, Ken Linsman. I just wanted to murder those guys. I wanted to hurt them so bad that they never played again because they just were never accountable for what they did. And I'm sure the Oilers wanted to do the same thing to Neil Sheehy and whoever else on our team, or me, because they used to scream and yell at me, Hunter, we're going to kill you. And I used to laugh and say, you've been trying for years, but it hasn't happened. So, the violence part of it is so different. In those days, it was really violent. Like you would slash a guy and you were trying to hurt him. And, human nature, we do what we can get away with. Right. So once they started clamping down on those 2-handed slashes, I started doing the swing with 2, let go, and just hit them with 1. And I never got caught for that for a long time. It's just one hand on my stick. But the travel of the stick, same distance, same weight of the stick on the guy's arm, the same thing was happening. So, and then once they got 2 referees, a lot of the Wild West ended. And, I think the game now is way better than it was then. I probably couldn't play in the game now if I was starting with and having the Flames have the patience for me to develop and grow into the player I became by the end of my career. I don't know if I could do that now. The players from first line to fourth line all can, within 2, there's probably 2 guys on every team that are excellent skaters or above average skaters, and then everyone else they're great skaters. Even fourth line guys are great skaters. In those days, you had 6 players, and then you had another 6 guys that were just out there to smash mouths around, and play hard hockey. So it's the parity and the quality of the player is so much better now. The quality of the game I love going to the games. I still like the physicality and the hitting, the playoff time where there's lots of that. But the game is way, way better. It's so fast. It's so entertaining.
Would you coach again?
Only at the NHL level. I've been offered lots of jobs to coach junior and American League and Europe, but I would only do it if it was the NHL, and those windows are closing as we speak.
Hey, Hunts,
As you're on the show, they're closing because of the show.
We're helping. The shutters are coming together. I'm glad that Ian asked you that question, because that's a question I had for you earlier. You have friends, a lot of friends in the game still going. I have one friend, but we have a couple friends that were looking for work this summer. They both, a few of them got jobs, one of them didn't. But they've always said to me, and you were in the game a long time, or you're still in it, but as a coach, they were really concerned about, even if they had time left on their contract, about sitting the year out or not getting a job over the course of the summer, because their take on it was, once you're out, it's really hard to get back in. Is that kind of the way you see it with the people, your own experience and the people that you are your friends that are still in the game coaching? Is that kind of the way they look at it as well?
Yeah, in some ways it's, and some guys leave, and, take Jay Woodcroft, for instance. He was in the NHL for a long time as a video coach. Then he became an assistant coach in San Jose and went to Edmonton as assistant coach and got his feet wet as assistant coach, and then got let go in Edmonton as assistant coach, and went down to the minors and kind of reinvented himself as a head coach and put his time in. And now he's a head coach in the NHL. So, there's certain instances where it works. For me, I knew once I left the NHL, it would be hard to get back in, because I wanted to learn the head coaching racket, and I, started the head coaching racket at 56, not like some guys at like 46. So, coming out of a junior coaching job at 60, getting back to the NHL is unlikely. Part of my failure was I coached a world junior team that didn't win anything. So that didn't look great on my resume. It wasn't great, but that's just the way it goes. Not every year they're going to win a gold medal as a world junior team.
What?
Yes. My career is complete. I did what I wanted to do. I coached in the NHL for 15 years, coached junior for 6 years. I played for 18. I've never had a job. I've worked in the game, playing and coaching my whole life. So at 60, you retire, never really having a job, but having a great career in the NHL as a coach and a player. Some great experiences in the Western Hockey League as a head coach, and coached with Hockey Canada for 4 years. So great career. If I never coach again, I have no regrets. But yeah, it's a small group of people that coach in the NHL. There's only 32 head coaching jobs, and only so many assistant coaching jobs. I never was really that interested in being an amateur scout. There's some good jobs as pro scouts in the game. Those are fun jobs, but they're lonely jobs. You're by yourself, you're on the road, you got to watch a lot of games, and it's lonely. So I don't know if I would ever want to do that either. So, but yeah, it's tough. The one thing that happened during my coaching career in the NHL is we developed the NHL Coaches Association. I was in the beginning years of that, with a lot of great coaches, Scotty Bowman, Ron Wilson, Mike Babcock, get this thing going so the coaches could get better benefits. Assistant coaches, we started getting retirement pensions, and then they gave the head coaches pensions. So it's come a long way from 1997 when I got into the coaching racket, what the coaches get now. So very happy to be part of all that, and very thrilled to see what the coaches get now, and the salaries. We started as coaches disclosing what we made to each other, so it could help everyone along the line, because we didn't have that. The players had it, but we didn't have it in the coaching ranks. So, and guys are always afraid. Well, if you tell, you're going to get blackballed. Blah. No, we we had a clearinghouse. We had one guy had all the salaries, all the contracts. Everyone could call in. Hey, I'm a 15-year coach, assistant coach, head coach. What's the range? What's the options for benefits and bonuses? It was easy. It was great, and that everyone has that now. So I think it's great for the coaches and it's great for the game.
Nice.
Hey, one question I have: you talked about coaching the World Juniors for the Canada, and I've said this to Ian before, and I don't know why I think this. I guess it's just years of watching these kids. I don't know if there's another group of kids, and we're talking kids because that's exactly what they are, that has more pressure on them, or really any athlete, than the Canadian World Junior men's team, or the kids, the junior team that just participated this weekend in Edmonton and won a thriller over Finland in overtime. Am I off base on that, or is it the pressure? Because you coach them. Is the pressure on that team just so immense, or is it just, is it not? I guess, is it not that big a problem?
No, it is, and probably exponential what you think it is. Once you're in the trenches with them, go through what they go through, social media and different things that we have to educate them on, and talk to them about staying off social media and given those options for them. And had, when I was involved, we had Connor McDavid talk to our team about what he went through on social media as a young player with the World Junior and not having success, and the fans, social media beating him up and different things, being bullied in social media. So it's almost immeasurable. It's incredible. And what you do as a team and as an organization, Hockey Canada, we try to create a bubble for them so they have enough to be around themselves to become a group that has to be cohesive and come together in a hurry, but they also get family time and some free time that they can kind of maintain their life and not be in a bubble where they can't get any of that. So it's a real balancing act of having, we keep the team at a separate hotel and the family at a different hotel, and then we allow the players to go visit their families in the afternoons on off days to see their girlfriends, their parents, talk to their agent, whatever they want to do, and then come back and join the group. So we have the families around as much as possible, because it's no one better to go through that pressure than go through with your teammates and your family. So it's very important, and Hockey Canada does a tremendous job of kind of balancing those things of the pressure with the kids and yet allow them to be kids. I see Hockey Canada's gone from, when I coached the 4 times, you weren't allowed to have facial hair and you weren't allowed to have long hair. Clean cut, no facial hair. And now they let the kids have their own hair however they want it, and they allow them to have facial hair. And I think that's great for today's kids, because everyone they want to express themselves the way they do. They want to look the way they want to look, and they don't want to look like everybody else. So I think it's a good thing they've done for the kids, that they let them be themselves, and because they're under a tremendous amount of pressure, no doubt.
Nice. We have a couple more questions to let you get out of here. I want to bring up the fact that I've always been a fan. What's grown me, or what's made me a super fan, is what you do in the summer with the alumni, coaching the kids' hockey schools. I just think giving back to the game like that is just, it's more important than anybody knows, giving time to the game. And living down here in America, Jeff knows as well as I do, if it isn't financially rewarding, it's not always given the time. And I love the fact that Canada and in Calgary, you guys are doing those things. How did you get started in doing the hockey schools?
Well, years ago when I played, the Flames had a hockey school, and this was just what you did as a Flames player. So the Flames had a hockey school in High River and Okotoks, and they asked players to go and be part of it. And that was kind of, what you did when you're a player. You gave back in the community, because because we're a family, and the Flames organization gave back in the community, and they wanted you to help them out doing that. So, I was a player, and it's really amazing because it comes full circle. Now I'm here in Calgary doing these summer camps for the alumni and the Flames Foundation and the Flames. I've had guys with kids that are now in my groups that they were kids when I had them when I was a player, and now they're putting their kids back in. So you've had that impact. They had such a great time at the hockey school in High River that they wanted to make sure they had their kids in, and they checked to see what week Tim Hunter was in so they could have their kid back with Tim Hunter, because they were in the hockey school with Tim Hunter. I think that's amazing. So, right. And that's, giving back. I'm so fortunate to have the life I've had, be a professional hockey player, coach in the NHL, coach and play over 2,000 games. And you don't have that career unless you have fans and people that want to come and watch you, that they are Tim Hunter fans. They have your jersey, they love you, they adore you. And to be able to touch them and see them in a personal setting on the ice at a hockey school, after school, take a picture with dad and his son, that years ago you had a picture with him at the hockey school in High River. Now it's come full circle. It's just amazing. And it's so rewarding to be able to give back to people and help them out. And the big part of what we do is the learn to skate and learn to play program here for the less fortunate. Hockey schools have always been kind of fun, but to teach kids the very basics, okay, you teach them how to tie their skates. Now you have to teach them how to fall down properly and get up properly. They've never done it before. So, you have to get creative with a lot of this stuff. And, it's kind of groundbreaking. I've always had kids that could skate at hockey schools. Now I have to teach kids how to stand up and encourage them. And then you get them moving, and then you get them, you're there for a week, and then you get them 2 months later, they're a little bit more confident, and now they're learning to play. So they've learned to skate, they learned to pass the puck, and now they have 4 other guys in the ice that they're playing with. So that's the fun part. So now you see these kids and the smile on their face and the smile of the parents. They're like so happy. So happy. Oh, my wife wants the keys. The car keys. So happy that they've been able to take part of this. And it was all given to them by the Flames, no cost to them. Equipment, ice time, coaching, and right through the program. And they get a game at the Saddle Dome later on, where they get jerseys and the 2 teams, coaches, alumni coaches on the bench. And it's their introduction to hockey. And what a great way to give back to kids and cultivate new hockey players and new fans for the game.
Exactly. New fans for the game and keeping your fans growing. It's so important. Yeah, I love it. You put pictures on Instagram, and it just looks like a fun time. And I remember being a kid and going to hockey schools and just loving it. Jeff used to have a hockey school in our hometown, but then he became too big wig and ended up flying jets and stuff like that. So.
we did a hockey school in our hometown for 11 years, and it was an incredible experience. Same kind of thing, just trying to give back. Wade Flaherty, who's coaching in Winnipeg, I grew up with him, so we had some wonderful people that and local guys that played junior and pro that would come back and help. So it was good. Last question I have for you, Hunts, is this is kind of a, I don't know, softball one, but because you've had such an impact on and off the ice in your career. A best memory, you won a Stanley Cup, but you could put that as your best memory, or just whatever you come up with. I'm just interested to know what you take out of it, because you've been doing this since you left home, and that's, you've been at this a long time now.
Yeah. It's funny. My dad came to North America in 1950 or 51, and he came through New York. He was coming from Australia. He was from England originally, went to Australia. Then he came to North America. landed in New York, and he went to a Ranger game at Madison Square Gardens in 1950 or 51. So he saw a hockey game and he thought, if I ever have boys, I want them to play that game. He loved it. He loved hockey. So we won a Stanley Cup in Montreal in 1989. My dad had just retired. So I flew him from Calgary out to Montreal with my buddy and watched the Stanley Cup, watch us win. Was in the dressing room afterwards, got the drink out of the Stanley Cup, pictures and everything. So 5 years later, on his 70th birthday, we're playing Game 7 in Madison Square Gardens in New York. So I flew my dad out to New York for his 70th birthday. And with a buddy of mine calls me, he goes, "Hey, Hans, I want to go to the Game 7 in New York. Do you think I could go? You can get me tickets." I said, "Yeah, one stipulation. You got to take my dad." He goes, "Oh, wow, that'd be great." But he knows my dad's a little bit of a Yahoo at times. So he says, "Okay, I'll take your dad." I said, "Yeah, you gotta look after him." So night before the game, I took my dad for dinner. That was his 70th birthday. We went to Smith & Wollensky's in New York, famous steakhouse.
Nice.
Unbelievable. And then, so we play Game 7, and so my buddy and my dad come down. I meet him after the game, and I'm bring him in the dressing room and down the hallway there at the MSG. And I said, "Well, how'd it go? What'd you think?" And he goes, "I'm not disappointed you lost." He says, "I'm very proud you played in the Stanley Cup." He says, I nearly got Dave killed, though." He says, "There was a couple of guys that wouldn't sit down in front of me, and I can't see over them. I'm telling these guys to sit down, and they're New York fans. They all pissed at me, and Dave thought he was going to get beat up." So, but just having my dad in those two places, he just retired at 65, worked his whole life, and then 70, his 70th birthday was very special for me.
That's awesome. And I like the fact you take him to Smith & Wollensky, and the waiters are probably 10 years older than him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right.
Love it.
Yeah, what a great spot. So my dad was special to me. He was a big fan.
That's awesome. That's a great story. Thank you, Tim. We appreciate you dropping by and having a conversation with us. It's I know it's huge to both of us, and it's probably huge to you talking to us. So thank you so much.
No, I love talking hockey. I could talk hockey all day, man. It's my pleasure. And nice to meet you, Jeff. I've met Ian before, and I want to go and see him when he's doing his thing, because he's a funny man. I love it. So, and maybe I'll run into you someday along the way, Jeff, when I'm in Vegas.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And you just made Ian's head even bigger because you said you want to come see him. So I can see him. He'll be throwing that in my face. But thanks so much for coming on. And we might have to clip that part out where you gave him a compliment. But
yeah, that's right. Oh, you guys deal with that. I'm out of that. Yeah.
Thanks again.
Right.
Appreciate it.
You bet. Have a good day, boys.
That was awesome. That was great. Little different than last week. A couple less.
Yeah, actually, Tim helped. He got us back to our clean rating, isn't that? Yes. we can't have Scott. We can't have Scott back on for another 4 years. We're going to get banned by the FCC. But Tim got us back our clean rating this week. And if anyone has a problem with that at the FCC, we'll bring Tim to the meeting.
Tim was great. And just, I love when his wife came in and got the keys. This interview's over. Wrap it up. We're going.
Yeah, got pretty quiet after that. I want to bring up a guy that I played for, and I forgot to ask him because we moved on, but he talked about John Brophy. Well, John Brophy, he was all-time character of the game, but Tommy McVie, I played for Tommy too. And we didn't get a chance. We'll have to maybe ask him about next time, but I still use Tommy McVie-isms to this day with the kids on the ice, with my own family. One of Tommy's all-time favorite lines was, "If you're 5 minutes early, you're already 10 minutes late," because if the bus was at 11, if you weren't on it at 10:45, you were running beside it with your pillow and your overnight bag because the bus was leaving. And then
Really?
the other
You
one,
would leave early?
oh yeah, 11 o'clock meant 10:45. And then the other one was
That's Carrie Ann. Carrie Ann's the exact same way. It's 11 o'clock. It's 10:30.
well, you're the opposite.
Yeah, I know. I'm 11:30.
Yeah, you're like, it's 11 o'clock. Oh, we'll go at 11:30 now.
That's my favorite part. That's my favorite part of flying flying private jet is its estimated time of departure.
Well, I used to, as you know, I'm more like Carrie Ann on time.
I know
than you are. But now when we go someplace and it's your gig, I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah,
I'm gonna sit here and have another bowl of chips and wait for you because it's not starting until you go on stage. So I'm like, I stopped worrying about that. I'll tell you what, that was one of the greatest days of my life. I'm like, what?
I'm gonna sit here and have another bowl of chips.
Like I need another bowl of chips. But okay, what do you finally have something to drink? I thought you were a camel there. Okay, so Tommy McVie. So 5 minutes early, you're already 10 minutes late. Everybody out there, those are words to live by. I know a lot of people are like, just shut up, don't want to hear it anymore. But the other one is, today is a work day. Today we're going to work. And Monday morning, they used to do the ice, and he'd sit there and watch them do the ice. Then he'd let them bring the nets on the ice and put them where they belong on the ice. We'd get on the ice, and he'd go and talk to two guys. He'd go, it's your turn to get the nets today. And when it was your turn to go get the net and the other guy, you'd take the nets down to where they push them on the ice. You'd bang on the glass. The guy would open the doors back up. You'd take the nets off the ice.
No
because
way.
today was a work day, and you would skate with no nets and no pucks for 90 minutes. That's Tommy McVie. Today is a work day. Today we're going to work. And ironically, it's a Monday. We're doing this. So a tip of the hat to Tommy McVie, because
this podcast is about 90 minutes today. So today is a work day.
Yeah, today is a work day. So, but you know what I liked about Hunts is his voice is very soothing. Like you wouldn't realize that if he ever got a hold of you on the ice, he'd rip you stem to stern. But he was a tactician, technical guy, and smart as a whip. But I will say this about him, and I said it earlier, is I never met a guy that had any interaction with him that didn't absolutely love him. And he's back in Calgary, kind of, the sun coming home, right? And good for him.
Yeah, that's great. Do we got any shout outs this week? I know you just gave one to Tommy McVie.
Yeah, I guess I could shout out to Tommy. You know what I'm going to do, since this is a Calgary-centric podcast today, I'm going to give a shout out to my nephew, Kalen, who is the biggest Calgary Flames fan in the world. And, I had to talk him off the ledge at the start of the summer, and now they're getting ready down the Red Mile. I think they're getting the parade route set up.
Funny, that's the other back setting up the floats.
They're going to set up the floats. I actually think what Daryl did with that team last year was phenomenal, and I think he's got even more pieces this year.
Mm-hmm.
So shout out to my nephew Kalen and all you Flames fans out there that were all worried at the start of the summer. Looks like they should be the front runner in the Pacific, and between them and Edmonton and LA are kind of my early picks to be 1, 2, 3, and we'll see what Vancouver, Vegas, and some of the other teams do to kind of compete with these teams. But to me, Calgary's a clear-cut favorite.
Nice. It's a nice shout out. I'll give a shout out to my sister, saying I will go along family. She just did she was at the Hendrys for a while. She was in Kamloops, staying with the Hendrys. Then she went into the Kootenays, stayed with my aunt for a while. She did this whole British Columbia trip. Now she's in Vancouver for some school board meeting. And then she's driving back up to Terrace, British Columbia. And every so often she'll just send me a text, driving through Greenwood. It just makes me laugh. I think, I don't know if this is for me or who this is for. She's giving me an update what town she's going through. This is the place where you fell down and broke your wrist. you dummy. So anyway, so shout out to my sister, and shout out to anybody that gets COVID this week. I apologize for calling you wall lickers.
Love to all.
Loved all.